Okay. Doesn't seem to make that big of a difference. Okay, first thing we're going to do is okay, hello and welcome back, YouTubers. This video is going to be about the QOR 24 palette that I just got. So this is going to be my first palette review. I paid with shipping $91 from Amazon. And I'm going to swatch the colors and then tell you what I think of it. And we'll go from there. So the first color is Cadmium Yellow Primrose. And I'm using a squirrel brush so it holds lots of water. The next color is Nickel Azo Yellow. Then we have Quinn Gold. Dialide Yellow. It's a pigment I've never heard of, PY83 and HR70, which must be some chemical type of pigment. I don't know what HR stands for. I'd have to look that up. Then we have Trans Pyro Orange. And I didn't pre-wet these colors. I'm just dipping my brush in and that's how they're going to come out. And we'll just see. And then we've got Cadmium Red Medium. Permanent Scarlet. Permanent Alizarin Crimson. Quinn Magenta. So this Quinn Gold and the Trans Pyro Orange and the Quinn Magenta are in the High Chroma set, which was my first set of QOR, and I absolutely love that set, and everything in it is fabulous. This is the Cerulean Blue Chromium. This is your Ultramarine Blue. We've got our Phthalo Blue green shade, pigment 15.3. Then we have our Cobalt Teal, which is pigment green 50. And then Viridian. A QOR Sap Green, which is more of a hooker's green, in my opinion. Then we've got the Green Gold, which is also in the High Chroma set. And this Dioxazine Purple is also in the High Chroma set. So the High Chroma set is the Quinn Gold, the Transparent Pyro, the Magenta, Quinn Magenta, the Diox Purple, and the Green Gold. This is the Raw Sienna, which is pigment Yellow 43, also Yellow Oak or another browns. And this is the Burnt Sienna. Raw Umber. Van Dyke Brown, Payne's Gray, and Neutral Tint. Oops. And I'm not going to swatch the white. Okay, here are my thoughts on this palette. First of all, the background is, and there's a swatch chart that I did earlier. Okay, so I took some notes. So the background is, I started with the QOR High Chroma Kit, which is, again, this Quinn Gold, the Transparent Pyrrole Orange, the Quinn Magenta, the Diox Purple, the Cobalt Teal, and the Green Gold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, love that set. So because of that, I've been lusting over and saving for this 24 set, QOR 24 set. And I gotta tell you, I was totally disappointed when I got it. And I'll tell you why. Cadmium yellow, cadmium red medium. I don't enjoy cadmiums because they're cloudy and dull when they dry, and it's no different here in this set. So I would never use those colors. The Viridian pigment green 18 is normally quite granulating. This version doesn't granulate very much. But also it's so weak compared to pigment green 7 or your phthalo green, yellow shade, I think it's yellow shade. No, red shade. Anyway, your pigment green's number 7, you know, is so much brighter than Viridian all the time. So I'm disappointed in that. Comparisons. I did some comparisons between the QOR, and I have so many different brands. I wanted to show you some of those. Okay. So the first thing that I compared, well, first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the Schmincke Cerulean versus the QOR Cerulean, and I mixed both of those with Pigment Yellow 97, which is Daniel Smith. I haven't, just happen to have it. That's my favorite yellow. And the Quinn Rose. And so you can see there's nothing really special going on here. It is a little more active in the wet and wet, and it bled over here. But as far as the colors, I prefer the Schmincke shade. You know, this is a little exciting, but is it worth $100 exciting when I have 1, 2, 3 tubes of this pigment? Not really. Okay, so then I compared the Ultramarine, and this is the one that's in my main palette, is the St. Petersburg. So it's a little more granulating than that. But again, you know, a little more, I don't know if that's the St. Petersburg. So it's pretty vibrant. I'm going to give QOR this one for sure. Actually, I'm going to give QOR this one too. Except that I do prefer this color. I think the blends look better. Okay, I'm going to give QOR that. So here's the Phthalo Blue versus Magello's Phthalo Blue, which is in my main palette. And, you know, there it's pretty 15.3 Phthalo Blue. It's pretty hard to be any different there. Okay, so that's that. Then here I'm compared some Sap Greens. This is the QOR Sap Green, and I think it's closest to Magello's Hooker's Green, and this is Magello's Sap Green, and then here's a Magello's Olive Green. And then so I think it was closest to the Magello's Olive Green, and I compared both of them with the 97, or PY97, which is the Hansa Yellow Medium mix, and then Permanent Rose, the Quinn Rose, which is Pigment Violet 19, and then I mixed them with the, you know, add a little bit of Pigment Blue 16, which is turquoise. And I'm going to give that to Magello. Okay, so there's that. Oh, I didn't put these down there. Well, whatever. Okay, so here we go, some more comparisons. Okay, so we got the St. Petersburg. I've got that Nico Azo yellow in St. Petersburg. I think it's called Indian yellow, but the pigment, it's pigment yellow 150. So here's the core version, and here's the St. Petersburg version, and I mixed both of them with the Cobalt Teal PG50 to see what kind of greens we could get. And then I mixed them both with that Permanent Rose, and I mixed them both with Naphthol Red, which is my preferred warm red. And then I mixed them with Phthalo Blue, which is mixing blue. So let's see what we got here. So I'm going to say this one goes to QOR for sure. These colors are just, when they dried, I wasn't sure about it, but now that I look at it after it dried, the QOR is just a lot more vibrant and exciting. I'll mark that down so I don't forget. And then here I compared the Dialide, I think that's how you pronounce it, yellow, to the closest in my main palette, which is the Magello. And it's called, in Magello, it's called Permanent Yellow Deep, but it's Pigment Yellow 65. I think those are the closest. And then I again mix those with the Cobalt Teal, the Permanent Rose, the Naphthol Red, and the Phthalo Blue. And I'm going to say that goes to Magello. And it could just be that that's how it worked out, but I'm going to give it to Magello. And I do like, this is my favorite. Pigment Yellow 65 is my favorite out of all of those kind of orangish yellows, or yellowish oranges. Okay, and then here we've got the Permanent Scarlet, and the closest thing I have to that in my main palette was the Vermilion. Although I must say this Permanent Scarlet is a beautiful color. It's just ever so slightly more salmon than the Vermilion. And again, mix those both with yellows, and then both with the Permanent Rose, and then both with Pigment Blue 28, which is similar to the Cobalt Teal, but it's just made with a different pigment, and it's a little more blue. And it's very granulating, and this is what it looked like. And I'm going to say this, I'm giving this to QOR. I like this color better, although I don't know, both of these are pretty luscious colors. I'm going to give it, it's slightly going to QOR on that one. So on this, QOR's 2 and my Magello is 1. Okay. So then I went into the earth tones. I thought, what does this look like? So here's a Van Dyke brown that I have in Magello, and here's the one in QOR. So the QOR is much more warm, and I believe it's more vibrant as well than the Magello brown. Then I have Raw Umber in QOR, Magello, and Winsor & Newton Professional. And it's just a totally different color than the Magello or the Winsor & Newton. I don't know that it matters because I don't use brown that much. I'm pretty sure I have it in my main palette, but it's Van Dyke brown, which is Magello, which is very vibrant for a brown. Okay, so here's all the burnt siennas. I have QOR, Magello, Winsor & Newton, Schmincke, and St. Petersburg. And I'm going to say nothing impressive here at all with the QOR. And probably when I look at it like this, my favorite is the St. Petersburg. Although the one that I have in my main palette and use the most is the Magello, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then for Payne's Grays, I have the QOR, the St. Petersburg, the Winsor & Newton, and the Schmincke. And of all of these, it definitely goes to the QOR. So QOR was just, it's beautiful wet, it's beautiful dry, it's beautiful. And the Schmincke is just, it might as well be black. And the Winsor & Newton's a little bit too blue. And this is the one I have in my main palette, but I do think that the QOR is more exciting, and haven't tried it in mixes. So that's that. Okay, so the way that I use burnt sienna the most is in my little self-portraits on my little daily watercolor journal. And so what I thought I would do is go through and kind of do those using QOR and then comparing it to the other brands that I paint with on a regular basis. And so all of them, I used the burnt sienna for the skin tone, for the Caucasian skin tone, which I am Caucasian. And then I like to do the cheeks with permanent alizarin crimson if I have it. And then the hairs, multi-shades of kind of blondes and browns, ochres and browns. Okay, so the QOR, you know, it's a little wild and crazy, so you can see that the color is a little, maybe not as, I have to get used to working with it is what I guess I would say there, but kind of dull too. In comparison to the other brands, I would say, but I don't know. And then this is Magella, which is in my main palette, which is what I usually use most times. I'm always surprised by St. Petersburg White Nights. I don't have that much of it in my palette. Well, I guess I have 9 colors in my main palette, which is all of my very favorite pigments. And mostly it's Magella because I just love Magella. But when for portraits, I do love St. Petersburg. I think it's the best. And so that's what's here. And they don't have a permanent alizarin crimson, but I used the Quinn Red, which is PV19, and that was a good substitute. And then Schminky. Oh, you know, here's the thing with Schminky. I don't use my Schminky palette as much as I probably should, as a custom palette that I put together myself when they had a sale on Schminky. But there's just something about Schminky that is just like the painting experience itself is lovely. I don't know why. You know, the colors, it's okay. It's really kind of subtle in relation to my favorite palette, which is Magella. But it's just, it's beautiful to look at, and it's lovely to work with, and I don't know why it's such a pleasure. And then this is a Winsor & Newton, which I was surprised to see how cute that Winsor & Newton came out. I never used that palette. I bought this because it was on sale at Jackson Arts, normally $180. I got it for like $70 or something, and I never use it. But it's actually, out of all of these palettes that I use to do these little people, the one I like the best. So I'm going to mark it. Anyway, the bottom line is the burnt sienna, which I use mostly for skin tone. It's, you know, it's okay. It fits in there. And so initially I thought that I would, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this palette or not. That's just the truth of that. Okay, the palette itself. Let's talk about this. This is, to me, just not, it's not something I'm ever going to use. I basically, even with the high chroma set, it stays in the cupboard. I'm never going to use it. It's ridiculously big for what I'm dealing with into paint. I'll put these, even if you took these out and put them in like half pans or full pans or whatever, this is still, I mean, for 24 paints, this is giant. I don't have that kind of room on my table. This is my 63 colors, and this is 24, and this is, you know, 2/3 the size of this. And this palette, which I just got done modifying another one. I modified these palettes. They're medium. I get them on Amazon empty, and I have half pans, and I alter them to fit 63 pans with 48 palettes, and I take this off because I don't care for it. It's just another, I have another palette that I mix on, or I can mix here, and this is just, it bugs me, so I take it off. I haven't taken this one off yet, but anyway, just so I thought I would tell you, you can fit 13 in each of these rows, and then you take some jeweler's pliers, and you just squeeze the middle row until you can fit another row of half pans in there. And then voila, it holds 63. And then in order to take this off, there's a little wire, you can just kind of maybe not see it on that camera, but it's just sticking out right there, and I just grab it with some, probably this. Sorry, do I grab it with this? I probably do grab it with that, and then I just pull it out, and then this whole thing just falls off, and voila, you don't have that anymore. And then you have a palette like this. My only regret is that it's black, like my main palette. I've also done that here with these, and this is my St. Petersburg. All of my colors are in there. Just because the palettes they come with are freaking hella large, and who needs all that on their table? And even if I did want to have all of my palettes on the table, I could be like this and be stacking them like this, and I could actually use all of my palettes like that if I wanted to have that much space being taken up on my table. So given that, you know, these palettes are just, to me, they're worthless. I don't know what I would do with that. I store my paints in it. I do keep like a sample in there, and I just gave the other high chroma to my granddaughter because I don't need another palette up there. But basically incorporated the paints into my main palette, and I gave her what was left, and I started to put some of these colors in here for her as well. But basically that's the high chroma set, comes with this little palette. But even that's big for 6 paints, 6 colors. Yeah, look at it. Yeah. So I'm not crazy about their packaging. I can see why people think they're special or neat, but if I were to actually use this palette, you know, I might use it for 24. I might get half pans in there and put magnets on the back like this, and then stick my watercolors in there, and maybe use a smaller, I might use a smaller tin that way, just so I could have all my core in one palette. But I mean, yeah, this is the size I definitely use on my table, something smaller, and it'd have to hold a lot more than, I don't know how many pans it would hold. 1, 2, 7. You could probably get 24 in here. So yeah, that's the only way I could think about using that. But I've already given this palette to my granddaughter, so I can't really take it back from her unless I gave her the big one. And I could do that. But yeah, other than that, I prefer these little metal meeting tins. I modify them, so this is a 24 tin, and it holds, I think I've got 37 half pans in there. And I haven't even modified that Winsor & Newton one because I don't actually use it. So anyway, that is my take on the QOR. This is the QOR High Chroma set. These are the colors that come in that I highly recommend. This 24 set I don't recommend. I just think it was a waste of my money because basically when I go through these colors, I'm never going to use this color. It's just not, I don't like it. It's cloudy, and I don't like cloudy colors. And I have PY3 by Magello, which is fancy yellow. And it's a beautiful non-cloudy lemon yellow, so I'm never going to use that. The Nickel Azo, I would use that for sure, and do think that we went over that, and the QOR is much nicer, but I can buy a tube of Nickel Azo yellow by QOR when I run out of my Nickel Azo. I don't like it that much that I want to spend another 15 on another thing when I have a big thing of it. But maybe the Quinn Gold I have and I love, and I would probably buy another tube of that. But again, I'm not going to spend $100 on a tube of paint, so I'm maybe up to $30 on those 2 tubes. This color is not going to replace PY65 for me, and I do have in another palette. A lot of brands will use the Pigment Yellow 110. I do have that, so it's not going to replace either of those for me. It's not that great of color for me, I don't think. I think the 24 set, I think I would have been much happier with buying individual tubes of the ones of colors I knew. I just didn't realize it came with the cadmiums, and I did want to try this color, and I'm glad that I have it and I got to try it. But yeah, I wish I could have bought a tube of that. So I do like this Trans Pyro Orange, but to be honest, I hardly ever use orange, and I don't think I'm ever going to have to replace those oranges. I hate cadmium reds. Oh gosh, the cadmium red light I can do. And I have that in a different brand. But as far as the cadmium red medium or the cadmium red deep, no, they're dull and ugly, and they look okay when they're wet, and then they just dry to crap. I don't want them. I do like this, so I would purchase that. But again, I could get a tube of that and be just fine. Although I do have the Magello Vermilion, which is right here, which is just as vibrant. And then I also have the Schminky Geranium, which is Pigment Red 242. And that is also similarly vibrant. They're so close that I just don't think I would spend the money on that to have the QOR brand. I have Permanent Alizarin Crimson in several brands, so I don't care for that. This color I would replace, but I actually have a tube of it in Winsor & Newton Professional, so I probably won't replace it until I run out of all of that, and I don't use it that much. I do like their Diox Purple, and but I have, yeah, I would probably buy a tube of that when I ran out of it, but I have it. I have this in several brands. I will say that this Pigment Blue 36.1, it was the nicest to work with, although I do prefer the Schminkies. Chrome Blues. There it is. Cobalt. It's Cobalt Viridian. Well, actually, I don't know. When you look at it like this, it does look pretty. It's a pretty color, but I have it in other brands. So for me, oh man, it just feels like a waste of money because I'm never going to go through what I have, the 3 tubes of it in 3 different brands. Not to mention that, again, I have it in a full pan of it in St. Petersburg, which is really nicely granulating. So I just don't, for me, it's a waste of money. Same thing with the Ultramarine Blue. It granulates a little bit, but I think the most granulating, yes, I also have a comparison I can go through and show you right here. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so, well, I'll just grab it. So with the blue, the most granulating ultramarine blue is the Schminky that I have. So if I wanted it for the granulation, and there it is right next to it, the Schminky is ever so slightly more towards the purple side than the QOR. So I have a tube of it in Schminky, so I don't really feel that it just seems wasteful to have another tube of it in QOR. The Phthalo Blue Green shade. Yes, this is one of my favorite colors of blue, and I use it a lot, but I also have it in a lot of different brands. So I have it in Magello. I have it in Winsor & Newton. I have it in St. Petersburg. And then now I have it in QOR. And so, again, just seems like a waste of money for me to have it in QOR. I just feel like with Oxcal, I can have anything be as flowing as I want. So I do love the Cobalt Teal. The Cobalt Teal was my very favorite color until I actually got it in Schminky, and I gotta tell you, Schminky is just the best. And how would you know that if you didn't have this many Cobalt Teals, right? This is the Schminky. I love it. I love this brand the best. So when I go to replace when I run out of my Cobalt Teals, I'm going to be buying the Schminky one. It's just ever slightly so much closer to blue. Prior to that, QOR was my favorite, but in the future I'll be buying the Schminky, and I have another tube of it. So for me, that was a waste. And then with the Viridian, okay, let's talk about Viridian. Hopefully I swatched that out here. I'm not sure that I did. Okay, I don't have the Viridian swatched here, but I have it in the Kiritaki, and you can see it's much more vibrant here. But most brands, the Viridian is just, it's just crap. It doesn't have, it's just a weak pigment, you know. That's why most brands will use the Phthalo Green instead of the Viridian. Here's Viridian, Schminky Viridian, and here's Schminky in the Phthalo Green, and you can see color wise they're very similar, but this is just weaker, and yeah, it granulates a little bit, but not that much. I'm disappointed that they stuck that in this set. I think they would have been better off with it would have been a Phthalo Green. I just think this is a weak pigment. The Sap Green's okay. Look at all these greens I have, right? And I've only bought 2 greens. These all came with kits where I've mixed them myself. The only 2 greens I ever bought was a Cascade Green and the Green Appetite by Daniel Smith. And I'm going to get ready to buy the diopside. But as far as greens go, I like the Magello. I mix my own greens. I think probably most people do. I've got a lifetime of greens. I just don't feel like I need green that much. So it's not worth $100 for me here. And then the Green Gold, I have it. It's, you know, I'm not running out of it. It's in my main palette, and I've got probably a quarter pan of it. A quarter pan, and I don't use it that much, but I also have more of it. So, and if I run out, I can buy another tube. I don't really care for any of these earth tones here. I have the Magello. Here's my neutral tint Magello. I think it's nicer. My Van Dyke Brown, which kind of compares to this brown. This is warmer, and I like it, and I can always dull it down. And my Burnt Umber kind of compares to the Van Dyke Brown of QOR, and I like Magello's earth tones. I think they're warm and vibrant, and they make me happy, and that's my favorite, and so I would never purchase those. Their Payne's Gray, I would say, is my very favorite Payne's Gray that I've ever tried, but again, I can purchase a tube of that Payne's Gray, and it wouldn't cost me $100. So purchase, that's 1. I'd purchase 2, maybe 3. 4. So 4 tubes out of this, which would be at $15 a tube, $60, and I paid $100 for this. So yeah, it's disappointing for me. Just not worth it to me. And so here is the final thing I have together for the QOR colors. I had the QOR High Chroma 6. Now I have the 24 set. I love this High Chroma 6. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at this. Gorgeous. So I highly recommend that. The 24 set I cannot recommend. If you have other sets, it's not worth it to me unless you like cadmiums. I just don't. And I wanted to show you one more thing. I'm going to make a case for the Chrome High Chroma 6 set. That's the one I think you should get if you enjoy vibrant colors like I do. That's the one that I got. And when I got it, I actually spent quite a bit of time doing this chart. And so I thought I would show it to you because it's luscious. And this is the transition between the Transpiral Orange and the Cobalt Teal. the Diox Purple and the Quinn Magenta, the Cobalt Teal and the Diox Purple. And I got the wrong thing there. It's not PB55, it's PG50. I'm pretty sure. I have to probably double check that because I think I know. Oh. Anyway, I think it's PG50. It's either PB50 or PG50, but I'm pretty sure it's PG50. Sorry about that. Anyway, beautiful, right? And then I have the transitions from Green Gold to Quinn Gold. Look at that. Is this Luscious or what? The High Chroma set is the bomb. That's the one you should get, I think. And then the Transpiral Orange and Quinn Gold. And then we got Green Gold and Transpiral Orange. I mixed them all. Here's a little cheat chart of the mixes. I love this Cobalt Teal and the Transpiral Orange. And look at that when they meet. They just do this wonderful thing that I love. And actually, when you look down, the Cobalt Teal, they all do that. So I do love that color. It's nice. Okay, then here's the mixes between Quinn Magenta and the Transpiral Orange. Look at all these beautiful shades. And then the Quinn Magenta and the Quinn Gold. All those beautiful shades. And then the Cobalt Blue and the Quinn Magenta. And the Green Gold and the Quinn Magenta. And then this is the transitions between some of the mixes you can get with the rest of the colors in that High Chroma 6 set. And as you can see, they're beautiful, right? So that is the one I recommend. If you're going to get the core set, I recommend the High Chroma 6 set. If you like me and you like vibrant colors, what can I do with that? Just wanted to show that to you. Comes in this case like this. That, well worth the money. I would buy this again and again and again, and probably will buy it again when I run out of this set. But the 24 set, I just don't think that they have a good mix of colors. I don't think it's a good representation of their brand or their line. And I think one, only... Is there anything new in here that I enjoy? Well, the Nickel Azo Yellow and the Permanent Scarlet I really enjoyed, but everything else... Oh, and the Payne's Gray. So 3 tubes I might pick up if I have extra money after I've picked up all the other tubes I want. Okay, thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this core palette review. And please like and subscribe. Costs you nothing. It means a lot in the internet world. Thank you. Bye.